following account is based on a true and tragic event. Some material may be deeply upsetting and graphic. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Less than a day after a young girl was reported missing, law enforcement officers in Phoenix City, Alabama, captured a heart-wrenching moment on their body cameras. As they descended crumbling basement stairs inside an abandoned home, the grim scene came into focus. The lifeless body of a young girl named Camarie, lying on the frigid cement floor. The officers, seasoned and stilled by years of police work, were visibly shaken. The light of their flashlights finally revealed the horror. Jurors would later openly sob in court at the mere description of the scene. But what truly horrified the public wasn't just what had occurred in that basement. It was the unimaginable betrayal behind it. Authorities quickly discovered that Camarie wasn't abducted by a stranger. She was exchanged, sold by her own mother for a sum of $2,500. Her mother, Kristy Siple, arranged the transaction. This betrayal led to revelations of a crime so vile, so beyond comprehension, that the sheriff would later describe the perpetrator as the kind of evil that society must be protected from. This is the tragic account of Camarie Holland, a 5-year-old child whose life was stolen through one of the worst betrayals imaginable. December 2021 marked a fragile recovery period for America. Families were reuniting, holiday lights twinkled, and there was a slow return to normal life. In Columbus, Georgia, 5-year-old Camarie should have been filled with anticipation for Christmas. Instead, her mother was involved in horrifying negotiations. Just across the state line in Phoenix City, Alabama, Jeremy Williams, a 37-year-old man with a deeply troubling past, was waiting. His criminal history included allegations of child abuse and suspicions surrounding the death of his own infant daughter years earlier. Despite these red flags, Williams continued to live free, hidden in plain sight. Kristy Siple made contact with him and agreed to hand over her daughter for $2,500. The agreed meeting spot? A dilapidated home once occupied by Williams, now boarded up and forgotten in a rundown part of town. Camarie was driven to Georgia to Alabama, unaware of what lay ahead. The house, located on 15th Avenue, was perfect for secrecy, abandoned, with shattered windows and overgrown lawns. In the darkness of that home, a monstrous crime unfolded. By the next morning, the missing child case in Georgia had evolved into a murder case in Alabama. 2 police departments were drawn together by a tragedy that knew no bounds. Camarie was born November 23, 2016 in Columbus, Georgia. Just 3 weeks before her death, she had turned 5. Her loved ones remembered her as vibrant, joyful, and constantly smiling. Her father, Corey Holland Sr., struggled to find words for the media and courtroom, frequently describing her with one word: precious. In photos, Camarie beamed with the carefree joy of childhood. She was one of 8 siblings and adored by both sides of her extended family. Although her parents had separated, she remained active in both households. Her teachers described her as curious, friendly, and eager to learn. She was beginning to read and write, and her teachers saw a promising future ahead of her. Her family envisioned a life for Camarie that extended beyond their modest neighborhood. Dreams of education and a bright future surrounded her. But beneath that dream was a home life unraveling. Kristy Siple maintained primary custody despite concerns about her lifestyle and parenting. Neighbors reported strange comings and goings at Siple's house, visitors at all hours, arguments, and instability. Child welfare agencies had been alerted before. Sheriff Heath Taylor later confirmed that Siple had already drawn the attention of protective services. Corey Holland, Camarie's father, had been fighting to remain in his daughter's life. Friends described him as loving and dedicated, doing what he could despite setbacks. Siple's focus seemed elsewhere, on her own relationships and finances. What nobody expected was that her relationship with Jeremy Williams was far more than casual. Investigators found that their connection was transactional. Months before Camarie's death, they had discussed exchanging money for time with the child. Jeremy Williams had a long trail of disturbing allegations, stretching back to Alaska in 2005, where his infant daughter died under suspicious circumstances. He refused to cooperate with authorities, and the case remained unsolved. He knew exactly where to take Camarie that night, his former home. He chose it for its seclusion, no neighbors to intervene, no cameras, no interruptions. Inside that house, he carried out unspeakable crimes. Toxicology reports would confirm Camarie had methamphetamine in her system. It was a deliberate act, an attempt to sedate her. Williams himself recorded the abuse on his cell phone, creating damning evidence that would later seal his fate in court. It was determined that Camarie was strangled with a ligature, a method that cut off her air supply until she died. Forensic evidence later confirmed that Williams continued to violate her even after her death. He filmed those acts as well. Following the crime, Williams attempted to erase evidence. He left the scene and returned home as though nothing happened. Meanwhile, Siple waited until the next morning to report Camarie missing. At 6:15 a.m. on December 13th, she phoned police, claiming she had tucked Camarie into bed and awoke to find her gone and the front door open. Authorities sprang into action, launching a citywide search. Siple appeared on camera in tears, pleading for help, masking the truth that she had orchestrated the crime. As the investigation progressed, inconsistencies in her story emerged. Cell phone data revealed repeated calls between her and Williams. A tip led police to the abandoned house. That evening, officers entered the home and found Camarie's body. By then, investigators had pieced together enough evidence to identify Williams as the prime suspect. Less than 2 days after the crime, he was arrested at a nearby hotel. His phone contained video evidence, everything that was needed to convict him. Further investigation revealed that the abuse had been premeditated and planned. Siple had agreed to the deal, even haggling down the price from $2,500 to $1,300. On December 28th, Siple was arrested. Initially charged with failing to report a missing child, more severe charges followed: felony murder and human trafficking on her own daughter. In March 2022, both were indicted by a grand jury. Williams faced multiple capital murder charges along with abuse of a corpse, production of child trafficking. Siple faced murder and trafficking charges. Williams tried to take his own life in jail and was placed on watch. In March 2024, he pled guilty to all charges, stating that he wanted to expedite the process. A jury still had to review evidence and deliver a formal verdict. During the trial, jurors were shown video footage of the crime. Some cried openly, others requested a break. Forensic pathologist Dr. David Radzewski described in clinical but devastating terms how Camarie died. Veteran police officers were reduced to tears. The courtroom was overcome by emotion. Williams' former wife testified. So did a now 23-year-old woman he had abused when she was just 4. On April 12, 2024, Williams was convicted on all counts and sentenced to death. Additional life sentences were handed down for the non-capital crimes. As he was led away, he remained silent. Siple, having taken a plea deal, avoided the death penalty. On July 18, 2024, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison, fined $10,000, in order to register as a sex offender upon release. Camarie's father, Corey, continued to honor her memory. On what would have been her 8th birthday in November 2024, he held a celebration, balloons, cake, laughter, all in her memory. Camarie is buried at Sunset Memorial Gardens. Her story sparked changes to child protection protocols across Georgia and Alabama, emphasizing the need for cross-border cooperation. When people remember Camarie, they speak of her smile, a smile that should have lasted a lifetime but now lives only in photos and memories. Russell County District Attorney Rick Chancey said it best: "There's no reason that baby should be in the ground." If you found this story impactful, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Every supporter helps us continue to tell the stories that matter. Leave a comment down below. Do you agree with the court's decision to make a plea deal with Kristy Siple? Thanks for watching.